Hey everybody, Tom here, and today we're going to try something new. I have turned the camera around, which is really freaking me out because my face is super dry and I really truly hate cameras. Ask anybody in my family. But here we are anyway, and this is going to be the first kind of in a series of videos where I want to give teaching tips for different games. And so in the link of this description, the description in the in the description of this video, I have links for the setup for Crystal Clans and my playthrough where you can see me teach and play through Crystal Clans. Now, this video is going to be about different tips that I use when I teach both the camera and other people how to play Crystal Clans. This kind of goes along side by side with my general teaching tips video that I just posted. I'll put a link to that in the description of this video as well if you're interested. But just really briefly, I wanted you guys to know about things that I was conscious of as I was recording that video. What are some decisions that I made and didn't make? And also there's some off-camera stuff. So let's dive into it. Here we go. Tip number one. Tip number one for teaching Crystal Clans is you need to be aware of your audience and you want to make sure you have the right audience for the right game. So this game is super cutesy. It looks like you could pull it out and play it with like a 6-year-old. And you know, there are some smart 6-year-olds out there. But I don't think that this is necessarily a beginners or kids game necessarily. To me, this is more of like a next step game, not really a gateway game, but maybe one you could do after that. And so I would kind of consider this not a gateway game, but a next step game. There is a lot of beauty and simplicity there, but some of those abilities can get really hard to track for people new to gaming. So don't pull out this game with somebody who's brand new to gaming, in my opinion. A good audience for this would be somebody who's familiar with two-player battle games. So if somebody really likes Magic or Rise of the Phoenix Born or what is it, Summoner Wars, those would be great people to play this game with. I'm going to play it as a good uncle game with my nephews, but I'm playing it with my nephews who love Magic. And so you want to pick people who are familiar with basic two-player battle card games. Or if this is their first one, something else you want to look for is people who have the ability to read individual cards, like people who have played a game where every card has a unique ability to it. And so, along with the ones that I just barely said, those are great examples. Again, Magic, Summoner Wars, Ashes, Rise of the Phoenix Born. But another one could be a game like Killer Bunnies. Killer Bunnies is I love it, right? Some people hate it because it's not the best game design, but it's a great gateway game that gets people excited about killing bunnies and playing games. And something in that game is that every single card has a unique ability to it. So just be aware of your audience, who you're bringing into the game. Don't let this be a first-time two-person battling game. A good example of that kind of a game might be Star Realms. If you're playing with somebody who's never played a game quite like this, you know, two-player battle, lots of unique abilities, Star Realms could be your game. That's a great one. Tip number two goes along with my general tips, of course, again, and that is involve people in setting up this game. This game takes like 5 minutes to set up. Let them open up the board. Let them see the different parts on the board. Let them shuffle the crystal cards. And then hand them the crystal and say, hey, will you put this on space number 0 while you look like you're busy doing something else. Let them help. This is the perfect example of a game where they can set up the game basically on your own if you want to boss them around. The second thing that I want to say about that is let them have total first pick of clans. Don't be stubborn and say, I want to play the Skull Clan. You've got to stand back, show them all of the cool different clans, let them pick the one that speaks to them. If you have reservations about one clan being harder than the others, say, hey, just so you know, these ones are a little bit trickier, maybe you want to focus on these, but in general, don't pick your clan until after they have picked theirs. You're bringing them into your game, let them feel like a guest in your game. And now tip number 3 is how to explain the rules. What's the flow? In my general rules video, I talk about this circle of starting at the bottom, working your way up, and then going from the top and working your way down. Here's a great example. I'm going to get very specific what I mean by that, and you could see me doing this in the playthrough video. So with this game, you always start by saying the way that you win this game is to be the first person to get these 4 crystals. Done. Say that sentence. Then you're going to move it up just a little bit and you're going to say, to get these crystals, pull out some of your clans, to get these crystals, you're going to need to have control over the 2 of these 3 zones. And then define what it means to control the zone. hey, to control a zone, you have to be the only person with characters on there. It can't be both of us. And then from there, you're going to keep moving up and say, so in this game, we're going to be summoning people to the board. We're going to be moving them around the board and fighting each other so that we can control these things. Once you've mentioned these things, then you can start from the top and work your way down. On your turn, you have some options. You can summon people, you can activate, which means basically that you can move them and battle with them. You can score the crystals and all of that stuff, and you're going to especially focus on those first two because those are the most common things that you're going to be doing over and over and over again. So you're going to talk about summoning, moving, and battling, and then you're going to say, hey, here's what happens when you control 2 of these 3 zones. That's going to get you a crystal, which is going to lend to your victory. And while you're doing that, you're going to talk about initiative because that's on the player aid. You're going to say, hey, there's this whole weird cool thing about initiative and how many of these actions you can do, and you can show them as you're doing this second part. Don't do that in the first part where you're working from bottom way up. Initiative track you should be talking about as you go from your top going down. Step number 4, a lot of you noticed, and whether you liked it or not, and whether I did a good job or not, who knows, right? But this game is so simple in all of the actions. But when it comes to that battle is truly confusing. So, after I explained the basics, after I went from the bottom up, what I did is I pulled out random cards. I just completely randomly chose some cards, okay? And you should be choosing random cards. You shouldn't be strategizing. Just say, hey, why don't you grab 3 cards, throw them down. I'll grab 3 cards too. Okay, we're going to pretend like these squads are fighting. Now, we're each going to pick 1 card totally randomly. Boom, put it down. And then, hey, this is called your battle card, and this is what you do. And so you both start by randomly choosing your squads, okay? Don't be crazy. Don't be analyzing those. Just pick them randomly. Both randomly choose your battle card, and then ignore the special ability text. Just say, hey, there are some special abilities here. Don't worry about those for right now. Let's just talk about the basics of a battle. And then after that, my recommendation is use something just like I do in the video to track stuff. Maybe you write down the numbers on a paper. Maybe you use cubes. Maybe you use dice the way I did. But comprehending the first couple battles for me was very confusing. And so using something to track so that they can actually see, oh, when I tick down this die 5, that's because the top card over here had a shield of 5. And so that's why we're losing this number of our attack and we're removing that card. Giving them something to manipulate and to actually visually see this is exactly what's happening without having to memorize the numbers. And the reason why those trackers are important is because not only this first time through are you going to have to memorize your number, you're going to have to track their number too. So have something there to help you out. That's my head number 4. Do a practice battle at the beginning. Tip number 5 is turn order matters. And I didn't necessarily do this in my video because I am both players, but in a situation where you're playing with somebody new, you should go second. And the reason why this is important, or the reason why I know this, is that initiative track starts at 0, right? So basically anything that your opponent does means it's going to be your turn next. And the first thing that they should be doing is they should be summoning. So they're going to be a little annoyed that you have 6 cards and they only have 5, but you let them go first. You tell them that they're going to summon. Say, hey, don't worry about all of that text right now if you don't want to, right? Don't take forever. Just pick 3 cards. If you need to pick them randomly, pick the ones that are cool, and let's help you summon them, and then you show them the summon cost, and you move the crystal. Then you're going to be like emphasizing that they did it correctly because then you're going to summon people to the board. And after that, you're going to really get specific again with, okay, cool. Now that we both have people on the board, here's something we can do with this squad. And then you talk about the second action, which is to activate. And you point out the activation icon and you talk about moving. And hey, look, a really normal first move is to take your squad and to put it on that spot closest to your home. And I'm going to stay there because I'm also trying to get over here to this one so that I can get the point. And so you're just very explicit, but let them start. Let them summon, and then you summon and you activate. And you might have enough crystals to do another activation or initiative. You might have enough initiative to do another activation, or maybe you want to talk about refreshing, and maybe it would be a good time, even if it hurts you, to say, cool, I'm going to spend 3 more crystals and I'm going to refresh my hand. So that's my recommendation. Let them go first, you go second. Tip number 6 is, in terms of rules that you could wait till later to explain, is probably wait on the invading rule. You can do a brief explanation of, oh, here's what it means to invade. My squad gets to your door and we count up my attack and hit you. But what I'm saying is, You don't necessarily need to explain in depth how to invade, what it means to invade, or the strategy that invading is a great way to get a free crystal if you can exhaust someone's pile. I save that for usually halfway through the game, or usually after a couple of rounds, as people are drawing up their cards a lot. They're eventually going to say, what happens when the pile runs out? And that's the moment when you say, oh, here's what happens when the pile runs out. If you can make me run out of cards and I have to shuffle, you're going to get a crystal for free. Always put that emphasis on what they could do to get the crystal, what they can do to win. So, I mean, you could do it the other way, but it sounds less fun, right? Well, if I get you to waste your whole pile, then I'm going to get a crystal for free. Try to make them think that they're going to win. They may or may not win. If they're going against me, they're probably going to win. But yeah, save explaining invading and shuffling the deck until about halfway through, or address it when somebody asks the question. Because if they've asked the question, that means that they're with you. They understand this idea that they're depleting and people are dying and what happens when everybody's dead. Tip number 7 is, on this learning game, you need to be an example of, don't sit there and analyze every single number and word on a card. Be an example that says, I have no idea what these cards do. It's the first time for me playing with this clan. So I'm just going to pick 3 cards to summon, and I'm going to summon them. And we're going to learn as we go. And so it's really hard to read everybody's ability, and it's really hard for new people to understand everybody's ability at the very beginning. So you need to be an example, but you need to encourage your opponent to just pick stuff that looks like the most fun to them. Let them read the title of the card, whatever has the coolest artwork, and let them throw that down. You don't have to force them to do it. Be patient if they really want to read and analyze everything, but you be an example and you be ready when it's your turn. Hey, I'm just going to grab these 3 cards and I'm going to summon them. So lead by an example. Don't analyze everything yourself. And then make sure that you know and that they know that we're all learning as you go. So you're playing with a new clan, whether you are or whether you aren't. Hey, I'm playing with a new clan. I don't know the strategies. We're all going to learn this together. And finally, my 8th tip for this game is, it has a very quick playtime. Embrace this. Talk about it at the beginning. Hey, let's do a learning game. This game is super quick. And at the end of this game, if you like it, let's play again and we'll focus on strategy more than we focus on rules this next time. So embrace the quick play time of the learning game. That's why I'm saying don't analyze everything that first game. Just figure out the rules. Let the game lengthen later on, but those earlier turns should be quick. Okay? So embrace that time. Offer to play a second time. Try to keep some time in your night to do that, because this game isn't really fun the first time. This game is more fun as you come up with the strategies. If you watched my gameplay video, you even saw that I came up with a strategy that I just had never thought about halfway through the game. And I was like, why haven't I been doing this? And then I really wanted to play again to say, boom, I want to try to do this differently. I want to try to do this better. If you're doing your job right, the person is going to have the same experience. So those are my tips for teaching Crystal Clans. These are things that I tried to stick with as I was teaching the game on video. This is what I try to stick with as I'm teaching people in real life. Let me know what you think. Do you have a different teaching tip? Do you hate one of my teaching tips? Just talk about it nicely. I'm semi-fragile sometimes. But I want to know what you guys think. How do you teach Crystal Clans? Anyway, I don't know if this is a series that I'm going to really continue to do. This is something that I actually do feel is unique to YouTube. I haven't seen a lot of people talking about ways to teach the game other than being an example. I would love to hear if you like this idea or if you actually hate this idea. I don't know. But again, we'll always be civil on these forums, right? Let's be nice to each other, be nice to me. I'm putting myself out there. I'm putting myself on camera, which really grosses me out. I'm having a hard time not looking at myself right like that. So I don't know if I'll always have this background or not. This is going to be my first video. Hopefully it goes well. I'll do a couple more. But like I said, I like that this opens up a forum where I could talk about games that maybe I couldn't have talked about otherwise. I'll never be able to play Rising Sun on this channel. It just, the way that things happen blindly, it's not feasible. But that doesn't mean I can't do a video about teaching Rising Sun to other people. So this is kind of where I'm headed with this idea, and I'd love to hear what you think. I'm done babbling. Let me go ahead and I'm going to put the 8 teaching tips back on the screen. So if you wanted to pause or look at that or search, ponder, pray about it, go for it. I will see you in my next series of videos. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.